Alright, here's another update on the Jeep mobility scooter thing. I don't know. I struggle with naming and figuring out what things or words. Yep. But I'm making progress, little at a time, slow going. I've got it kind of mocked up here. So that's the back axle. I'm actually going to swap there's a short axle side and a long axle side. I'm actually going to swap them because I put them that way because originally I was thinking about having that open space there and putting stuff there, but they're also like designed so that like from the edge of the diff to the edge of the motor is center if you flip them around. So I think I'm just going to do that because I'm going to have like a skid plate that's like V, or not V, but you know, flat bit here in the middle, like the edge of that line to that little line, and then a little bit of a V. So once I center that, that'll come down the middle and meet this, which this motor has to be offset. I would have had to buy new parts to do the same to it, a new axle piece. I didn't have enough to set it over, but that's okay. This one will be fine. Now to the point of this. So this is just the starter frame. I might remake it. I might continue building out this frame. It's just something to get me going, kind of eyeball, figure it out. It's built to the dimensions it needs to be for like the width and stuff and about the length that I wanted. But this is the front end I'm still working on. Slowly getting there. I got the steering stops made, and this is obviously just copper for visual so I can figure it out. So I got those. I don't have anything on the back for the backside steering yet, and I'm thinking about adding a plate that just comes over and, you know, sits right there. And then it would be like a V on both sides, basically. And it wouldn't look too bad. I have more of that thick metal, so. But yeah, so because I didn't want suspension, but I bought a suspension setup, it was easier just to use the parts it came with, just modify them slightly by cutting slots and then welding them all the way across front and back while they were off of the diff. And then the next step is to get, I don't have any right now, but I'm going to get more of this thick flat. I don't have enough right now to do it with, put it that way. I'm going to get more of that thick flat stock, put it here and there and on the back side. And then on here, it's going to have a piece in the middle that comes across. And I've been thinking of this frame that I'm building to hold the axles and everything all wrong. I was thinking it was going to be a subframe and then have it removable. But I've changed my mind on that. I've simplified it a little bit. So this, because of how well I've designed, or I and whoever designed some of these other parts, because I've edited their design a little bit, of course, but because of how easy it's going to be to like take it apart and slip the diff backwards and out, I'm going to make this actually part of the frame instead of a subframe. So this will get welded, you know, and the part across here will get welded down. And then I'm going to just use these shock mounts and just have a piece coming into here and it'll get welded. And then that will also be the point where I triangulate and kind of make some sort of, once I build up from here and figure out where that's all got to go. And because I'm going to triangulate it, that means instead of having a brace from about here to here, which is what I was going to do, I'm going to just have a brace from here, some of that flat stock, here to here, because that's going to be triangulated, so that should be enough. And same on both sides, front and back of it, and that'll box it all in, frame it up. And then, so yeah, basically cut that down to go in there, but not this piece because it's too short, it doesn't have enough in it. But yeah, and that way I'll still have access to the nuts to change the oil, the drain plugs. And I'm thinking about redesigning, like I was working on a motor mount for the back right there, that's what that is. But I'm gonna redesign it and make it far simpler and still be pretty strong. It ain't gonna go anywhere. And I keep going back and forth on whether or not to use this body. I keep going back and forth. Like, I could easily make something useful out of just sheet metal, which would be far easier, especially since I have a welder. But this would look neat if I do it right. So I keep jumping back and forth between taking the lazy way out or putting the extra effort into making it look decent. I don't know. I'm in a lot of pain all the time, so those are things I have to think about, is what's really important or not. But yeah, so it's going pretty good. Haven't finished the RC car project yet. I'll get around to it eventually. I've already figured out how to fix the steering on the front of it. Once I learned more about steering by fiddling with steering and failing at it, and then thinking about how I failed and figuring out how to not fail, basically, that's when I immediately jumped into this instead of testing the theories like I should have probably on that. But I mean, I realized I was going to be using rack and pinion instead of building the push rods and everything from scratch, and that's when I realized it's not as big a deal. Some of the dimensions aren't as mission critical on this as they are on that, because I'm using solid rods and things, and the rack and pinion will have, like, you know, it'll be mounted up here somewhere instead of down level with these, and it'll, you know, how they have the bits that can pivot and all that. So that'll be a little easier to fool with on this one than it will be for the RC car. So I'll get around to the RC car one eventually. As far as I can tell, with my redneck eyeball, I've gotten most of the, I mean, it's not sitting square with this frame. This frame isn't right now, and these two frames aren't necessarily square with each other on this plane, like that. One of them is kind of wonkier than the other, like that. But I have done my best to center each of these when I was getting it all done, center lined with where the axle should go. So as far as I can tell, I have adjustment and everything, so I can change the, what is that, camber? Yeah, change the camber out a little bit. And then I reckon, yeah, it seems like it's easy to make sure it's in line and straight with the other one. So far it's pretty in line and straight, and with no adjustments with these all the way in, it has a bit of camber already, which I might leave. It's not much, as you know, you can kind of see that I don't know if you can tell or not, that it goes up. Yeah, now you can. You can definitely see it, I think, a little bit there. It goes up a little bit. It doesn't look like much. We'll see once I get the tires and everything, but as you can see, it is adjustable. Just whenever I finally put the other nuts on the other ends, just adjust this end out a bit, and that'll take care of it. And like I said, these are the steering stops, just made out of some thick metal. They already had holes in them for something, and I just made sure they were in a good spot, because I don't have much of that thick metal left. Actually, what's left is that motor mount there, that big L bracket. That's the same stuff that I welded some other tabs onto for the motor mount tabs, but I've decided I'm probably not going to use those motor mount tabs. I have some U-bolts, and I have some other ideas, some other things to make it still pin so it can't twist on the U-bolts, and it'll be easier to take on and off, or easier to make the mounting points for it, and still be strong. So that's pretty much it for now. So yeah, I know I don't make videos long and crazy, or have like in the minute while I'm working on videos, but try to give people updates as I can on this little project. It's probably going to take like a year or two, probably more like 2 years, just because of the ambition. What I want to do with it is, and I'm financially and physically not able to do it quick. So physically, even if I had the money, it would still take a long time to get done, like probably still 2 years. So financially and physically, it kind of balances out. But I don't get much money a month, so buying some of the parts, I got lucky that I got a one lump sum at one point and was able to get some of the expensive stuff out up front. Some of it, not all of it, but then, you know, I got some of the cheaper stuff, and I'm still currently getting some of the cheaper stuff like controllers and lights and things I can afford here and there, and then just throw them all in a box and slowly wait. And then some of the more expensive stuff, some of it's still under my budget, so I'll just, as I need it, when I can, just go broke on it. Or under my monthly budget anyways. And then there's a few things that are over the monthly budget that I'll have to save up for. So, yep. Takes time. Time and money. That's that's all it takes for just about anything. Time and money. But like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think.